Hi, this is Guitarist Denis Taaffe, and I'm in my home studio, and it's real late at night. It's about 1:16 in the morning. It was a really hot day. I've turned off the air conditioner, try to at least get a little better audio. And I want to welcome you to the making of Modern Rock Guitar Vol.318, Harmonic Intonation. And this is my 318th instrumental guitar album. And for those who aren't familiar with my music, basically I'm a guitarist, and I play electric guitar and do guitar loops done on the fly, which means as I'm playing I record a little piece of what I'm playing, starts to loop back, and then I layer on top of that other guitar parts, and I emulate bass on guitar, and sometimes what sounds like synthesizers, real primitive though. All my tracks are improvised on the spot and played live in the studio and recorded live. So really what you hear on the album is exactly what you would have heard had you been in the studio on there. And doing this approach has its ups and downs. One, obviously, it's real easy to make errors, hit wrong notes and that kind of thing. And sometimes some tracks work better than others, but that's kind of the fun of it, and the challenge, and I'm always surprised by what happens musically. Sometimes it's things I could not get had I worked it out ahead of time. Okay, real quick, let's take a look at the album cover. And for this album cover, basically it was a free picture, free for commercial use, and basically I just added some guitars, giving it kind of a mystical ambience about it, and then put myself at the bottom playing guitar. It has no real significance, but in any case, that's the album cover. Okay, and this album is composed of 7 tracks, so they're pretty long tracks, averaging between 8 minutes and 12 minutes, really. There's a couple of shorter ones in there. And what I can tell you about this particular album is that it ended up being a really smooth album. Still trying to get used to that changing guitar, the Yamaha RS320, instead of my regular Parker guitars. And in fact, now I kind of switch between both. Definitely the Yamaha wasn't a replacement for the Parkers. It's just a different type of guitar. The Parker is a much smaller neck, and my system is really set up for that. And what I mean by that is the balance between the bass emulation, the guitar loops, and the live guitar are all really well balanced. Whereas on the Yamaha, because they're different pickups and things, is a little bit brighter, and so as as a result, things aren't quite in balance. Sometimes the bass is too loud, or that kind of thing, or some of the layers overtake some of the live guitar and that kind of thing. But that's also, due to the way I've been playing it as well. So that's something I could work on, definitely. In any case, what I really like about this album, which I haven't been able to do in a while, is to do swells. And a swell is on a guitar. Let's say you play a chord, and with a pick you strum the strings. Well, in this case, when you're doing a swell, you keep the volume knob down, and then you hit that chord, and then bring up the volume knob, and you never hear the pick attack, and so very much sounds kind of like a keyboard on there. So I use that extensively on this album, and I haven't been able to do that because on my Parker guitar, the darn knob is scratchy and noisy. So every time I would try to do a swell, I get this which would translate, into the microphones, and so it would make the album, noisy. So I didn't want that. Okay, so let's get started, because it is quite hot in here without the air conditioning on. I just think, I know if I have the air conditioning on, even though it's just a little camera microphone, it'll pick that up, and you'll have this hum. So let's begin with track 1. And track 1, as I recall, was a little bit longer, and I had to cut it off at the end. And part of that is because I was overdriving. The microphone, the output of the amplifier into the microphone. Okay, and let's listen to track 1, which is 5 minutes and 44 seconds long. So here I have a regular guitar part, regular guitar sound, and that's a Yamaha into an Albion amp and a Fender Deluxe Reverb tube amp. Okay, and it's mixed in with a track of what sounds like a keyboard, but it's actually guitar, and that's done with an Eventide H9 processor. It gives you kind of a primitive emulated keyboard sound, if you like. And when I started this track, I started with that keyboard little melody there, and that's what inspires the actual guitar part. You also hear what sounds like kind of like a keyboard, but it's actually not. It is the remnants of a long reverb, and it just kind of hangs there, almost sounding like a keyboard. So now I've added a layer of pattern, what I call pattern playing, and it's repeating patterns on the guitar using digital and analog delays. Right, it gives that kind of rhythmic sound, and without that rhythmic sound, the track would be very boring, because your ear would have no reference rhythmically. Right, so it just sounds kind of like it's floating out in space. Here it gives it a rhythm, and to my ears it makes it sound more modern. I find a lot of this music kind of orchestral, but it's still, because of the sounds and the rhythm things, it sounds more modern than, you know, an older orchestra kind of sound. This was inspired by that one little keyboard melody that you hear. Unfortunately, it's being a little drowned out by that Yamaha, the guitar parts. Okay, let's fast forward a little bit to the 426 mark. There's some different pattern playing with different delay times, and this gives it a lot faster guitar sound, and those are eighth notes. Eighth note delay goes tack, 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 tack. And the thing which is nice about this is it's all synced to that tempo. In this case, at 120 beats per minute. So all the different delays are synced together. And if they weren't, it would sound kind of like ping pong balls and notes flying all over the place. Here it's a lot more regimented because it's synced together via MIDI, which is a musical instrument digital interface. Helps keep things synced together. And it's quite difficult to play, not so much the notes and things, but in time. You know, playing in time. And when you're doing repeating patterns, that's really, really important. Okay. Well, here we go. We've moved on to the next track. And the next track is called Speculative Fiction. Sounds good to me. It's 8 minutes, 24 seconds. And there's that rhythmic, repeating pattern playing, setting up the rhythm. And it's, rather than being a really dark sound, it's kind of a happier sound. Or not even happy, but kind of midway between the two. You know, not super happy, not really dark, or that kind of thing. And so there, I started out with that rhythm playing, pattern playing, and then over that I'm putting just regular guitar. I'm playing basically notes from the scale, and also chord voicings and that kind of thing. And here I'm doing a different pattern playing above it now. You can hear that. So I've got two sets of pattern playing, and different times on both, but they're synced together. And this is a lot of fun, improvising over that and finding guitar parts as you're playing that to your ear sounds like it would fit. And of course, it's a lot easier when you know what scale to play. So in other words, what notes to choose helps a lot. Okay, and let's go to the 4-minute 33 mark on this one. So here I'm adding another layer. Okay, and that sound right there is a sound I created that has a huge reverb, decay reverb, and it makes makes the guitar sound like it's way, way, way in the background, as if it's going away, and it gives the track depth. Okay, now, right there, right here, okay, that's a little, also a little Eventide H9, that keyboard algorithm. It's a different preset, and I'm actually trying to solo with it. And it was really interesting because it gives you this kind of, I guess it kind of sounds a little bit like a keyboard, you know. Again, real primitive because it's just single notes, but you're able to solo with that, so I tried to do some of that. I should say, in my attempt to get a big sound, unfortunately, in certain spots I overloaded the microphone, or when I was mastering, I pushed the levels too hard and it distorted. And unfortunately, I had to cut parts of those tracks off. They were unusable. And that's kind of one of the limitations of, when you're playing and recording and doing all the engineering while you're playing, and you're just one person. It's a lot easier to make those kind of mistakes, instead of if you have someone in the studio with you, doing the engineering for you, doing the recording part of it for you while you're playing. Unfortunately, I don't have that luxury, so I've ruined quite a few tracks doing that, unfortunately. And that's kind of where I was having difficulty with the Yamaha guitar. It was pushing the levels, and it turns out I'm also using 10s instead of 9s on that guitar, and it kind of throws things off. My setup, my pedal board setup, is set up for that Parker guitar with 9s, and the pickups are different, so they're hotter on the Yamaha, so they put out more output, but as a result, it's very easy to overdrive the sound to where you get a distortion sound, which you don't want, of course. Alright, in any case, let's move on to track 3, Parables. Okay, 5 minutes and 24 seconds. Let's take a listen to that. This was actually the first track that I recorded for this album, and I remember that I hadn't played it in a couple days, so I had to warm up first, and it takes a little while, and this was right as I started. I wasn't quite warmed up yet, so I started off with something real simple, kind of a bluesy type thing. And as it started to progress, this was basically the main theme, and so I played off of that to see where that theme would take me. Let's fast forward to the 3-minute 31-second mark. Okay, now right there, you'll hear this thing, and that's the Eventide H9 keyboard algorithm. It goes and here I'm trying to just use it as an accent, right? Because it goes and so those last 2 chords, I try to accent them with the keyboard. Right here. from there. And that was kind of fun, finding all the different kinds of chord voicings you could use over that chord progression, basically. Okay, now the next track is called Allegories, and this is a long track, 12 minutes and 51 seconds. Very long track. So let's take a listen to that. Okay, this is a Yamaha, no looping yet, and this is just with the Albion amp and the Fender Deluxe reverb and an H9 delay. Yeah. And there, that low end is that bass emulation. Unfortunately, if you don't hit the note perfectly, it kind of glitches, which it did there. This is where I ran into trouble with that Yamaha when I was playing the bass emulation, because those strings are 10s and the pickups are real hot. It kind of overdrives the input a bit too much. Yeah. This is where I kind of had a problem. Where the guitar speaker couldn't handle the low frequencies very well. So there I've got the bass part, and then the main guitar part. And from there it's just a matter of improvising over that, finding different parts that would work well with it. Okay, so let's fast forward to the, let's say, 6 minute 25 second mark. There's another layer of guitar, kind of soloing over it. Combination of single notes and kind of cordial playing, where you play a chord voicing, but you let all the notes in the chord ring out. Alright, so there I'm having fun doing that. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Okay, let's go to the 9 minute 15 second mark. Ah, new guitar sound. Sounds kind of almost like a harpsichord type sound. That's really a harmonized guitar sound. Whereas I play a note, but it plays two harmonized. Main theme's still playing in the background. Heading towards the ending. Here's 11 minutes 18 seconds. And there you notice the entire atmosphere of the track has changed. Things aren't quite ringing out as they were before. It's a lot more compact sound. Compared to the beginning. Yeah. And that was from I turned off some of the looping layers. I turned off some of the looping layers from earlier, which was building and building into a big sound. And here the ending is much more subtle, if you like, and builds a different kind of atmosphere, a little bit darker. Alright, let's move on to track 5. And track 5, called it Midnight Courier. And I did that because it reminds me of a movie, or some of my other tracks remind me of, called The Onion Field, or The Onion Fields, the 70s movie. And it was real dark and eerie. Okay, and this is very similar, in fact. Let's take a listen. Very first thing you notice, of course, is my favorite pattern playing. Right? Kind of a Tangerine Dream, Pink Floyd-ish kind of delay sound. Usually eighth notes, right? Repeating pattern, delayed. And here it's actually 2 layers. One of them is a repeating pattern of eighth notes, but below that is the main theme, which is also delayed patterns, but a lot slower. But they're synced together, so they kind of mesh together. Yeah, I love that kind of sound right there. Definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, the classic 70s, single note keyboard melody, and reiterating the main theme of the track. And what I really like is the more I use the keyboard thing, the more I use it more subtly, make it really much more part of the track. Whereas I think when I started using it, it was kind of overtaking tracks and using it almost too much. And here I've kind of learned to use it a little better. So let's fast forward to the 6-minute 52 mark. There's a real bright pattern playing. And it's changing the patterns of the whole track. Now chord voicing's over that. Let's fast forward to 8 minutes, 12 seconds. Notice it's kind of change the track. It's still playing that scene, but now it's a totally different guitar sound. Playing the main theme. And part of it's harmonized guitar, part of it is keyboard emulation, and then the pattern playing, all layered together, and the bass emulation. So I've got quite a few loops layered there. As I recall there, I was actually playing, it was a different keyboard emulation, but what I was doing is playing octaves, right, but real high, like starting at the 12th fret and 15th fret, right, you know, skipping a string in the middle, playing octaves there, and going from 12 to the 15th fret, and then back down, so on. Okay, let's move on. Almost done here. Okay, track 6, Mythology. And it's 8 minutes, 12 seconds. Let's take a listen to that. Hold on. Hot, hot, hot. Alright, track 6 is 8 minutes and 12 seconds. Let's take a listen to that. One of my favorite sounds is my cello sound. It's a sound I came up with where the guitar bars dropped an octave and then kind of swelled, auto swell, makes it kind of sound like a cello. I guess you could call me Yo-Yo Ma Jr. But yeah, that's kind of what it's supposed to sound like, a little bit. So I thought it'd be fun to play some arpeggios using the cello sound, and that will set up the track. Okay, the basis for the track. And I could definitely see this, you know, as part of a film theme, you know, part of a scene in a film. It's kind of dark, mysterious, eerie type. Okay, and there, here you go. There's a Heaven 9 H9 keyboard emulation, and it automatically gives you 4 notes if you hit one, so you get this kind of Okay, so that sets up the track, and if we move it forward, let's go to the 5-minute 20-second mark. Let's see what that develops into. Yes. And there's some pattern playing, of course, synced via MIDI, and on top of that, I'm just playing kind of a guitar solo, chord voicings to emphasize the theme. That's kind of a fill right there, a little guitar fill. So there's building the track, and now let's go almost to the end. Remember, it's 8 minutes and 12 seconds, so here's 7 minutes, 38 seconds. Now here's something I like that I did. I basically, the ending is going to be real sparse, so I turned off a lot of the loops to keep it quieter, instead of a massive, you know, orchestra of layered loops. And there I'm just improvising on guitar, double stops and things. Okay, now, here's the last track, and I needed one more track. And it's not very long, it's only 3 minutes and 48 seconds. However, I did something really different on this track, as I recall, which was kind of neat. It's basically, I added a ping pong delay and reverb, and the ping pong delay, real subtle, you know, is going back and forth like this, you know, back and forth, and also a reverb sound, and those are static. In other words, those are not synced to MIDI at all, And what they do is just add a little tiny, subtle sweetening of the sound, if you like. And you'll hear it here. Let's take a listen to that. So there I've got that bass line, which is actually the melody line, surprisingly. And then the kind of rhythmic, repeating guitar line. There, and I built the track off of that theme. So let's go to the 208 mark. Guitar harmonics. So there I'm actually just going off and playing as many harmonics as I could. And because of the key that it was in, I had a lot of harmonics to choose from. So I tried to make little melodies out of the harmonics. Gives the track a lighter sound. Yeah, nice. Not a real dark track or anything. It's a real kind of uplifting track, especially with those harmonics. There I've got a layer of bass emulation, the repeating guitar pattern there, and then the harmonics. And that's it. There we go. So that is Modern Rock Guitar Volume 318. Right? Harmonic Intonation. Okay, so there it is. That's the entire album, Modern Rock Guitar, Volume 318, Harmonic Intonation. And this wasn't the easiest album to make. I discovered some limitations with the Yamaha guitar as far as levels go, and trying to get a real nice clean sound without overloading the levels. However, one really nice thing about this album is that rather than keeping all the looping layers on, all the time, I learned to turn some off to get a different kind of mood or atmosphere within a track. So that'll be really beneficial, in the future as well. So overall, I'm very pleased with the album, actually. A lot of the tracks, and I especially like that last track, and the reason I mention it is because it is what led me into doing the next album, Volume 319. So there you go. Definitely worthwhile album. I mean, it's a solid album. I know when you hear it kind of, cut up here, it doesn't sound real smooth and things, but I promise you, if you listen to it in its entirety from beginning to end, you realize how smooth the album is and how each track really leads well into the next. creating an overall theme, not only to each track, but to the album as a whole. And that's why I hate when they, pull a track out of an album out of context. And there's been albums, that have a little 1 minute track, and if you pull that track out, the whole theme of or feel of the album, the atmosphere and changes for the worse. So these are definitely not put in order, by accident and things. Okay, well, there you go. Time for me to turn the window air conditioner back on. It's getting really hot. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.